What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow. And first, I want to just address everyone on Twitter. I posted what effectively was a very real, just kind of a statement that, I've been really kind of suffering from a weird depression for honestly quite a while. I'm going to be fine. I always am. It comes around every now and then, but I think there were over 400 or 500 comments on that tweet, offering your support. A lot of people reaching out. I really appreciate it. I do. Thank you. It's difficult for me to do what I really want to do without getting really emotional. And so I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to talk about the world. I'm not going to talk about anything, but I am going to react to a video that I found that I find really, really, really good. I've watched up to halfway through, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to react to this and let you guys see it because the views aren't that high. It's from someone named Sapien with 5.6 thousand subscribers on YouTube, and I believe they deserve more, especially given the sentiment and what they have to say in this video. So we're going to watch this video. This may end up getting a little long with my interruptions and my thoughts, but it's something for you to watch throughout the weekend if you want, because I'm probably not going to do another video until at least Monday. So here we go.
The rise of super-fast VC-backed BFT protocols in both their design choices and token distribution models is leading to the erosion of decentralization in this industry. Large pre-mines, over-the-counter insider deals and significant token inflation is funding fearless centralized blockchains with smart on- and off-chain marketing initiatives. Through the financing of mainstream crypto media, key opinion leaders, social media influencers, and even fake on-chain activity, these chains are able to dictate the narrative and capture mainstream attention through sheer financial might. This is the blueprint for the ultimate fake it until you make it strategy. Selling out to corporations and facilitating one of the largest value extraction processes at the expense of users is now commonplace in crypto. However, the most important...
Real quick, value extraction, and that's exactly what a lot of these blockchains that have been pumping, when nothing else is going up, when Bitcoin's not really doing a whole lot, it's in a channel. Cardano's not doing a lot. None of the other Ethereum, nothing is really pumping or doing really well. But you'll see some of these more centralized or VC-backed projects pumping because they have to. Many of them have to stay alive based off of the way that they're structured to operate. There's a lot to it, but a lot of it is very much so smoke and mirrors. And this is not an anti-Solana video. That's not what this is about for those of you that are going to be watching this and say, oh, it's another one of these. No, you need to watch this to the end because it's very, very eye-opening. And his perspective on this stuff is exactly how I feel. And it's very difficult for me to get these words out, so I'm letting them do it for me. I think that there's a lot to be said about decentralized technology, decentralized blockchains versus everything else, and these narratives that are basically profiteering from really the greed and expectation of people in this market, especially the way the market has been. And before I get too deep into this video, I want people to really understand that, if you came into the crypto market in 2020 and you entered the space and then boom, everything went up and then came down, and you've been waiting this whole time for that next run because you feel like you've got it all figured out and you're ready to go. The reality is that having been in this since 2017 and going up and down and basically riding through each of these main cycles, the time frames, while seemingly long, are really relative to when you got in the space and how and where the market was when you got in, what happened within what time frame, etc. Because a lot of people, especially newcomers, are basically getting into this at a time. A lot of people get in when things are already really pumping. They haven't had to wait through an entire bear cycle and accumulate and educate and do all of these things that many of us have been through time and time again. And a lot of the sentiment out there is that we should all be going to the moon by now. And I've done videos explaining very precisely how that's just not the case. We're still actually fairly early in this bull market cycle, but the people that are out there that are able to pull strings and control their own individual markets are definitely going to do so, and to try and basically separate you from your money to basically profit from. So that's really what this is about. It's not necessarily specifically towards pinpointing any one project. There are just some that stand out more than others that are often pointed at, because it's really their business model through and through. And you know, enough people know it by now that there's really not much argument to it. And you don't really find any argument. What you find online when people point out the red flags and the flaws and all of the things, the fact that they're, you know, if you want to look at Solana, there's no like explorer, you know what I mean? A lot of the data is in an efforts to be kind of covered up or pulled a blanket over because they don't want to see someone shit the bed. I mean, like that's really what it boils down to. And so rather than address these issues or concerns by these big Solana influencers and those in these ecosystems, they just try to deflect and point the finger back at something like Cardano, and they make up bold lies, like just bold lies. They're trying to be tit for tat, but one has facts and on-chain data supporting it. The other's just made up stuff that they're trying to use to deflect attention from the reality that they're so invested in. And so it's really, really challenging. But anyway, I'll shut up. Sorry.
The question is, can a truly decentralized people-run network still survive and thrive despite retail being aggressively directed toward more centralized corporate-owned blockchain ecosystems? This industry was founded upon the promise of decentralization, security, and ultra-inclusivity for good reason. The very concept of mass adoption or mass participation and long-term value of a network, in my view, will be a consequence of these critical user-empowering characteristics being at the core of the blockchain. Fundamentally, this is why it's Cardano versus the rest of crypto. Welcome back to Sapien, the channel for in-depth coverage and breakdowns of the most disruptive technology that's challenging the economic, political, and social systems of the world. This video is brought to you in partnership with the Cardano Fan Stake Pool, so if you find value in the content and want to
Cardano Fan Stake Pool,
please consider delegating to the Cardano Stake Pool ticker CRFA. Cool. Full details are linked in the
they don't do too bad. Live stake
in crypto, the narrative has become
million.
Who's winning now and based on a very particular set of metrics. Today, focus is rarely applied to the significance of solving the trilemma, demonstrating staying power, and ultimately the success of a blockchain in not losing or disappearing into obscurity. When I say Cardano versus the rest of crypto, I'm talking as much about its own design choices technologically as I am about how it stands in opposition to the model powerful corporate entities are choosing to use as a mechanism to extract value from this industry, leaving large parts of retail burnt with a distorted perception of what this technology was originally developed to achieve. Sure, if it's only about making money, anyone is free to dance with the devil and hope that you're on the winning side of the zero-sum game. But this is the difference between chains where users are adding value versus only extracting it. Corporate-owned networks propped up with huge pre-mines and over-the-counter deals may have significant amounts of capital to play with, which is no doubt capturing short-term growth, but it's not sustainable for creating valuable users long-term, and in my opinion, only contributes to the crypto is a scam narrative. VC capital was never going to get on board with the development arc of Cardano because it's way too technologically and socially ambitious. VCs don't afford you the time needed to execute a project and vision this big. Instead, they encourage the move fast mentality that almost always guarantees them a short-term return. As a result, decentralized people-run networks like Cardano may have far less capital and corporate handshakes, but offer a completely different value proposition, building a culture that's not solely here to extract but contribute to its wider success and adoption. This is what delivers that organic growth in the network effect we observed originally in Bitcoin. This kind of growth has substance and long-term is way more valuable. As a blockchain user, have you ever questioned if you're a user and an owner, or just a user being bought and owned? Convincing people today that decentralization is important is difficult, but it really shouldn't be. The centralization of power to create short-term incentives and hype are great marketing strategies, but it's decentralization, security, best-in-class technology, and an organically grown community that would determine long-term success. The rise of VC-backed BFT protocols sacrificing decentralization for fast finality and ease of development is no doubt dominating mainstream crypto today, but effectively, what we have in many cases is layer 2 solutions masquerading as robust layer 1 blockchains.
I don't know who this guy is, but he's fire. First of all, I've never seen those two globes demonstrating decentralization endpoints that like that. So that's great. But Man, I really don't. I don't know anything about Sapien. Whoever you are, reach out. I couldn't word this stuff better. He's so accurate. He's so dead on. And, before I forget, there's one thing that I want to point out. I know that a lot of people say Charles doesn't care about price, right? And I think that's absolute fallacy. And I know that he says that all the time. But that would be like putting your life's work into a new vehicle and designing this car and building this car so that it's powerful for everyone. And then saying you don't care how fast it goes. Right. And the reality is that when it comes to Charles and the way he basically says, I don't care about price, he can't care about price publicly. Of course he wants it to do well. Of course he wants the token to rise. I'm putting words in his mouth, but from somebody that feels like I very strongly understand his position in building a decentralized network effectively, he can't get out there and say, I want the price to go up, or I expect the price to go up. He can't do any of that. When you're in a climate of regulation, trying to come down and come after anyone that is basically doing anything to potentially disrupt the current financial system, you don't want to make yourself any more of a target for them as you have to. And so if Charles were to come out and basically say everything that the public wishes he could or would, that would be a major problem. And I don't think people really truly realize that. He can't come out and say a lot of the stuff. I'm sure he would love to. He just can't. That is the difference between a decentralized protocol, a network like Cardano, that is being built to empower the public to do with as they may, and a more centralized project that has just been built for the sole purpose of profit. Like this gentleman is saying, Sapien, there's a big difference between building something that's going to stand the test of time and continue building upon itself from its community over a more centralized venture capitalist push to market project specifically to just generate a yield as quickly and easily as possible for as long as it will last. You're extracting from a market rather than adding to it. And so that very nature is something that says Charles isn't able to run around the internet proclaiming what he hopes and expects to happen with the token price. He can't care. And on top of that, there is a part he may not care directly because he knows what he's building and he understands how the technology that he and the hundreds of developers working on Cardano is going to change the world in a way that is going to benefit humanity effectively for generations beyond him. He is already a wealthy man, so it doesn't really matter what happens to the token price today or tomorrow or next year. But what does matter to him is how his technology and what he's created and designed and spearheaded affects humanity in the long term. We as speculators and investors in this new technology are hoping and expecting to be able to change our lives based off of the merits of what's being built and how it's used. And we would love for that to happen sooner than later. But we're also in a very, very greedy climate in the cryptocurrency space, riddled with tribalism, greed, lies, manipulation, every other tactic that you see in every other industry in the world. It's a dirty place. That the reality is that we in the Cardano community are far more powerful than we believe we are, and we can effectively change the way this narrative continues to play out. If each and every one of us just bought 100 ADA a day, or even 100 ADA a week, if everyone with an active wallet just picked up 100 ADA a week, we would literally just shoot Cardano to the moon. But we're not ready for that sort of retail adoption yet, because the market hasn't really taken us there. And that's ultimately what we're waiting on. When all of the media and the press and all of the developments and the projects and everything really starts coming together in this vacuum and just starts sucking the world into it again, reaching new levels of adoption across the board, that's when Cardano is very likely going to shine in major ways. But anyway, I digress. I'll get back into this.
Now, BFT protocols do have their advantages, so it's no surprise that we see blockchains like Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, and Sui utilizing this approach to consensus. For BFT, the main advantages are fast finality, and it protects well against double spend. Consequently, for developers, it's much easier to work on these protocols. For example, there is no need for certain code to keep cross-checking the finality. This is extremely useful for developing financial applications. Fast finality removes the need for this type of clunky code when developing, attracting more developers to build and deliver user applications to market faster. However, BFT protocols are sacrificing decentralization and security for speed, heavily centralizing power over the network. This not only goes against the original promise of crypto, but if you want to handle billions of dollars of value, surely the highest security guarantees of the network is required. In BFT protocols, if 33% of nodes act maliciously, the system can suffer attacks leading to liveness issues or capture. BFT protocols often require nodes to be known and trusted to some extent, making them more vulnerable to collusion among a small number of participants. In effect, 33% of actors can make a coalition to bring down the network Solana style over and over again, rendering the chain unusable. While liveness issues today on Solana are more likely to be as a result of the move fast and break things approach rather than malicious attacks, effectively, users are lucky somewhat honest actors are currently controlling the chain. BFT protocols are seemingly solving this security issue in the short term with the structure of their tokenomics and through the powerful entities backing them. Before the token is publicly traded, if you have a 70% plus pre-mine, allocate huge amounts to insiders, cheap over-the-counter deals for VCs and key opinion leaders, you can create a small centralized trusted committee that runs the network validation in a permissioned environment. This leads to a small consortium of players centralizing the network operations. Their stake and power is so large that it's they themselves who control any network attacks. Centralizing power to a small group of entities means they control network operations, development, and market sentiment. Again, decentralization prevails here. But the real issue is, what if some other player enters the arena, acquires more than 33% of stake, and becomes a thug with intentions to maliciously attack the network? Liveness issues leading to the network being brought down every day, making it unusable and inaccessible, is a very real possibility amongst these chains. Is this really your idea of a blockchain? Again, this is the difference between being a user and owner versus being a user that is owned. Running as a consortium only works until it doesn't anymore. If the blockchain you are using through its consensus protocol and token distribution model is highly centralized, then effectively it has an off switch. If this is the case, then at some point either the authorities or a malicious actor with enough resources will find it. Permissionless blockchains that in their consensus protocols, token distribution and governance models are decentralized are proven to be more reliable, accessible and secure. This is what will encourage much broader long-term participation in this space, as they are far more appealing and user-empowering characteristics for the masses. Cardano comes from the Bitcoin school of thinking when it comes to consensus protocols. Like Bitcoin, it achieves a 51% honest majority with its consensus protocol Ouroboros. While Nakamoto consensus suffers from slower finality, it excels when it comes to the security of the network. Cardano achieving Nakamoto consensus but with a proof-of-stake protocol has produced the highest minimum attack vector across all cryptocurrencies. With a malicious entity needing more than 51% of stake to attack the network, its well-distributed 3,000 plus stake pools securing it, and proven 100% uptime, Cardano is arguably the most robust and reliable blockchain network in existence. The security guarantees of Nakamoto consensus is where chains like Cardano and Bitcoin really stand out. When you consider Cardano's native assets, true non-custodial liquid staking, the introduction of on-chain governance, and most decentralized network validation industry-wide, on Cardano you are a user and owner of the system. Users on centralized chains like Solana and Sui are being fooled into thinking that they're on robust layer 1 blockchains, when in reality they're effectively on layer 2s that have given up on decentralization. The evidence shows Nakamoto consensus provides the highest security for layer 1 blockchain consensus. You can then develop layer 2 solutions, for example, where you maybe lower security to increase speed, ease of development and scalability. But we have to be honest, if the vision is to become a world financial operating system for billions or even trillions of dollars in value in transactions, the security of the network is of number one importance. It's far easier to attack, co-opt or capture a small centralized consortium than it is a globally distributed network of 3,000 plus stake pools with the highest minimum attack vector in the entire space. The reality is, when it comes to real adoption of blockchain systems, trust me bro, you can safely transact in billions, it's just not going to cut it. This is why Cardano is closest to Bitcoin. Nakamoto.
I love how smooth he is with his jokes. I just this video is just so good, but it's kind of long. We're only 9 minutes in. I don't think I'm going to have to cover the whole thing. This would be an hour-long video. I don't know if you guys would want me to even do that. When the videos get too long, then people start to shy away from them. But man, this is such a good video. I'm going to keep going for a little bit.
Motor consensus, UTXO, deflationary hard cap currency, high minimum attack vector, far more adversarial resistant, extremely decentralized. When you consider this with its programmability, upgradability, and now introduction of on-chain governance, Cardano is seemingly on its own path now, and a clear outlier for achieving long-term staying power. Cardano equals true ownership. You are a user and owner of the network. But this isn't...
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop this because we're at 20 minutes already. But I'm going to put the link of the video down below. I really need to react to 5-6 minute videos so it can be all inclusive in one video. But also I want to add to his channel. I would love for people to just go ahead and subscribe to him. I'm going to finish out the video myself personally. And, this is just somebody, this isn't, like I said, this isn't just about Solana bad, Cardano good. I mean, it is, but it's not. That's not the point of me doing this video. What it is explaining the differences. And I really encourage everyone to go check out the rest of this video to get the full picture, because we are truly in a situation where this is centralized versus decentralized. And what do we believe is truly going to take over in the grand scheme of blockchain tech? And, I personally believe wholeheartedly that it's going to be Cardano. And then someday in the future, there'll be other projects that are similar to Cardano, and we'll have a better understanding as to why Cardano was built the way it was. A lot of us already get it, but I feel like Cardano is so complex in its nature compared to, just like he said, compared to a lot of these more simplified blockchains that are kind of throw shit to the wall, be first to market, figure the rest out later, but just make it easy and let's just market it and make the number go up so that people buy into it. And that's basically what we're seeing, and it's working to some extent, but I think that narrative is starting to fall short, and people are finally starting to realize what should be primarily of value to all of us in this space and what shouldn't. And, I think that's also a part of why we're seeing this, Solana a lot of the Solana folks going to the SUI network instead. Because I think that, people are really starting to open their eyes and understand what's actually important. And so, the final note to this is that, we're going to continue pushing forward as an ecosystem, as a community. And at some point in the channel, I am going to be deep diving into a lot of the different assets out there. I actually plan on doing a video where I go back and I look at a lot of the top influencers in the crypto space. And we look at the projects that, all of the anti-Cardano folks anyway. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at all of the projects that they said we're going to moon, that we're going to get 100x and 1000x, or, that they're promoting a lot of these assets in hopes that you buy into them. And maybe the prices go up for a minute and then they crash all the way down to the bottom, and they're doing worse than Cardano's ever done. So, and there's a lot more of that I don't think people realize. And so, the overall sentiment is as a speculator in the crypto space, we really need to do the research. We really need to understand what we're putting our money into and why. What is it exactly that we're supporting? Are we supporting corporate VC greed? Or are we supporting a true mission to decentralize the world in a way that empowers all of us? What means the most to us? And it's not always pretty. It's not always exciting. But there's stuff that doesn't say that we can't play in the other worlds too while they last. But yeah, I mean, that's basically the gist of it. I'm trying to work on some projects. I'm actually working on a Tesla bot website. I'm thinking I might even start a Tesla bot YouTube channel at some point, because I'm hoping that things go well enough in this market cycle that I'm able to buy one. I want one. They're going to be 20 to 30 grand, but I really want one. And I want to start doing YouTube content about them and AI and all kinds of fun stuff related to that. What would be really cool is to figure out a way, how could you utilize something like the Tesla bot Optimus and its AI systems as it relates to the use of Cardano as a financial ecosystem, Internet of Things and all of that kind of stuff. How would that all work together? So anyway, that's it for today, folks. I'm probably not going to be doing another video until Monday. So, that's it. I'm good. I'll see you guys soon. Crow your coins.